So yesterday I mentioned that I got a call from a senator, and then we spoke about the electoral reform and why we must stand to push it because it will help to save our democracy from the collapse, imminent collapse. So at the end of the day, I had a conversation with a couple of persons because while I was talking about the electoral reforms and the call I had with the senator, I mentioned the aspect of the state police that has been on the table in the National Executive Council for a long time, but it seems like the president has not given a mental and presidential go ahead, and that's why it's not been something to look into. And so somebody went on to me and took me on it, and they had a conversation. And I acknowledge that I can register or recognize the demerits against state police. As somebody who saw elections happened in Nigeria, in Edo State, especially the House of Assembly and local government elections, I can tell you, state police in the hands of state governors will be a tool to weaponizing electoral fraud and manipulation. I can remember under Godwin Obaseki, when the House of Assembly elections was to be held, because the governorship elections doesn't follow the regular electoral calendar of the country. So it was only House of Assembly election that was held in 2023, and to my eyes, I saw it. The guys under the body of the vigilante, Edo State vigilante, they were merciless in dealing with my own polling unit and a couple of polling units around, because they were trying to save face from the embarrassing outcome of that election for the candidates. And all of that was registered, and I made videos about it anyway. So, however, all of these are things that are likely. However, it doesn't change the fact that there are several strong merits for state police. And because you think that governors would use it to their advantage. Now, if you say that is the problem, currently, the presidency is using the police, the Nigerian police force, to their own advantage. And let me say this here and now. The reason why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not pushing for the state police, that he has become a long time, several decades of advocacy for it, is because of 2027. And it's very simple. Because empowering governors with state police means that, to an extent, the governors can use the police in their state to cover up for their own political will and interest. But President Tinubu understands that as a risk. So most likely, should he return to power, God forbid, Tinubu may actually allow state police to happen. Should he return to power? But for 2027 election, it is dicey for him. A lot of these governors who are running into the All Progressives Congress are running because they are looking at every aspect, every factor, everything that is supposed to aid them to be able to have a voice in that election, to be able to challenge the presidency in that election and choose their own support system or who they want to support. They are losing it. The Electoral Act or Electoral Reform, the Electoral Act doesn't seem to help them. As I talk to you, it is almost been deliberate now. This country wants to collapse the technological advantage that we celebrated a couple of years ago when it was introduced to our electoral system. We are returning back to manual. And with the last Supreme Court judgment, which of course I am urging some of us to look, I think in the next couple of days, I'll take us back to that Supreme Court judgment that exposed us to the nefarious, ignoble, and manipulative tool of INEC, where it was left to INEC discretion on what to use and how to collate results. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. It is only in our electoral act. And of course, that loophole is what the judiciary uses. So those of you asking why we're asking for electoral act, that is one of them. Apart from the fact that we want to be able to have an independent National Electoral Commission that is actually independent and away from the whims and caprices of the presidency or the political actors, we also want to have a defined, very defined means of how our elections are conducted, are collated, and are resolved. Because like I said, there's supposed to be a 7-day window after every elections for INEC to review itself. You see what JAM did? Doesn't mean I'm clapping for them. That is how it is in the Electoral Act. There's a 7-day window for them to review the elections and now give outlook to say, okay, we are going to do this or do that. Court should not be the place to go when an election has happened. INEC can sit and look at all of the variables, look at all of the factors, cancel here, review here, and all of that, and can say, okay, we've reviewed this and this is the outcome. But you see, because we have been captured by political system, everything is go to court. So that is why Bola Tinubu is not giving in to the state police idea. It's not because he means well. Because again, minus the elections, if you look at the challenge we have, the challenges in our security architecture and structures around the state police would help eminently. It will allow the states to be able to, currently now, all of the English you are speaking, ask your governors. You cannot ask governors about securing the lives and properties when they don't have control of the police. The state governors, the only thing they do, they have to force themselves to work in with the commissioner of police, because it is still controlled from Louis Edet House in Abuja. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work in all of the country, and it's painful that some of you are abroad. It is local council that have structures and control of these things in all the places you go to. Suddenly, you are happy that a man is so powerful, the most powerful political figure on earth, the president of Nigeria. Everything answers to him. He decides everything, to the point that he can remove an elected governor, and you analyze it to say it is for the sake of peace. So when there is crisis in the presidency, what is the peace resolution point? So all of these are too much for us to answer. So I told them, and I'm only doing this video here to also register my voice. The only reason Bola Tinubu, who has been an advocate of state police for years, is not putting it now, is that he has now realized that empowering state to have state police, it will give the governors powers to affront, to be able to contest with him and try their best. Look at the Edo elections. It was all. Do you know that the police force went to report? Police want to tell INEC that we heard that some bad boys from the governor is coming to attack us at Urukpota. Let us go. Let us leave. And so they went on to drive around. After several minutes of driving around, they drove to INEC office. A collation center was dismantled. Police force, over 36,000 policemen were sent to Edo. And for Benin, it took over 70% of those were in Benin. Yet, police force was reported that they have intelligence. That's how manipulative it was. So when you sit and have you can have, this is not a political conversation, so you can have a political, but I'm just telling you how bad it is. So, but when we have state governors, yes, your problem is, like I said, somebody told me yesterday, you go to talk like say you talk to people who are serious. I bet not true self. Man, go sleep.